So it
whole different
becomes
perspective.
challenging then to think about like, well, what is impacting me and
Hmm.
quote my community? You know, the as more we like zoom out and start to think of things as a global community,
Hmm.
we have to meaningfully be willing to consider the connection between the literal words of the Bible
Hmm.
and like what happened at Club Q recently.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to point a specific finger, but I do think that there are interesting questions to be had. And at what point does pushing back make sense? Not trying to be violent or militant about it in the least bit. And I'm not trying to be casual in bringing up that notion of terrorism, but it's a very scary place to be walking right now.
Yeah, that didn't not contribute.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? There's there's basically no denying that. We see it being weaponized consistently. And just because there are people that aren't weaponizing it, that doesn't mean that it isn't a weapon, right?
yeah, sure.
That could be picked up and wielded in that fashion and is quite frequently and demonstrably. So I hate
So
the idea that you have to justify defending yourself, though.
yeah, yeah, I
I don't think
I
you should
hear
have
all
to.
of that, but I mean, I think when I guess what I am looking at is when we indulge or accept sort of the fringe aspects of Christianity, or like,
Mhm.
I guess not the fringe, but like the softer exterior pieces,
Mhm.
are we also inviting in the shitty stuff, the scary stuff, the bigoted stuff? And I know that that's a little bit of a naive question in some ways, but, I don't necessarily feel like we should be outside of shopping malls, like picketing Santa and Christmas tree displays on public grounds. But I'm at least concerned about us as atheists and how often we sort of like go along to get along and whether or not there are places that we should be reconsidering those ideas.
I think that that's aiming your arrow at the wrong target, though.
Yeah.
Like,
How do you mean?
freaking so if that's where you're expending your energy
Mm,
is picketing, like, Santas and Christmas trees, because those are things that have kind of been appropriated by Christians as part of a
sure.
holiday.
Yeah.
They're not something like, you're not gonna find Santa or a Christmas tree in the Bible, right? Like, those aren't the things that are being wielded in a harmful fashion, and enacted in society in a harmful way. Those are things that people who aren't Christians even have an affinity for and a nostalgia surrounding.
Yeah.
So, if that's where you're expending your energy, is trying to combat that something that's kind of innocuous and can almost be considered sort of like secular. Like, I have a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I
I
and
mean,
I don't think
I've got
anybody
the
would doubt.
green behind me and the, red
Right.
sweater, like, I'll be drinking some eggnog after the show, like yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I don't think that that's a necessarily a good way to expend your energy, um, in combating religion, because in so much as we do combat religion, it should be because we want people to have sound epistemic, um, reasoning, and attacking a Christmas tree is not gonna do that, or we want for them to stop harming people, and those are things that aren't harming people. So, you're just kind of causing a scene at that point,
Mhm.
um, about the
So,
wrong
r
things and creating this sort of image that we're like I think it kind of gives Christians the ammunition that, there's this war on Christmas, and
right, yeah.
Christianity just in general is being
They're
taxed,
trying
and
to destroy our
Christian
entire way of life.
right, exactly. And it really doesn't matter. Like, whether or not somebody has a Christmas tree or there's a Santa in the mall isn't something that's even Christian specific in my
Yeah.
mind. I
Yeah,
think it's
and I
affiliated with one of their
definitely
holidays.
I definitely hear all of that. Uh, is it I guess it's fair to say then that the target isn't necessarily religion, it is the harm that is done by religion. And when we can
Yeah.
remove all of the harm in the world done by all religions and some hypothetical
Yeah.
utopia, then whatever is left, whatever neutered belief system, if it exists at all, is something we don't have to stress about.
Yeah. It's my issue isn't people believing in deities. Like, that impacts me not at all in and of itself. It's
Mm,
all of the baggage that comes with the the tenets of the faith that are packaged with that deity and how those are enacted. in that person's life and how they engage with the world. Those are
Right.
the things that I have general issues with. And the only way to, and if you believe that that's ultimately truth, which they tend to, then the only way to shift them away from that is to show them which aspects of it aren't true, or
Mm.
that all of it isn't true. And sometimes that's iterative, and sometimes that happens all at once. Sometimes you're unlucky and it doesn't happen at all. But that's where like my goals lie. Maybe other people have different goals, but that's where my goals lie, is
Yeah.
harm reduction, like overall
Right.
harm reduction to the person holding the belief and to what they do with that belief to other people.
Yeah, so
Am
I
I
suppose
space
that's
there?
framed. Yeah, no, I think that you've actually got a really good divining rod here of the distress principle. Like, is this
Yeah.
causing harm?
Right.
And that makes sense when we're talking about at least triaging sort
Yeah.
of the atheist agenda. Like, where should we start first? It's not mall Santas. I absolutely agree. There are
Yeah. That's not,
bigger
that ain't
fish to
it.
fry.